Good evening, Pat.
Good evening, Paul. How are you doing on this very dark, autumnal, and extremely rainy
Yeah.
Friday after a busy week? How are you doing anyway? Lovely to see you.
Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, it's it's great to be able to do this with you. Like we were just saying then, and Fred, I'm watching this is Pat Fahy, and we went to school together, didn't we?
We did go to school together. We did
Yeah,
go to school together, and a person that was a massive influence in my life and the music industry was a good friend of yours, Mike McEwan.
yeah, yeah. I used to go around to Mike's house, buy inputs from spinning. Um, I don't know if I can say this, but we used to get weed,
Yeah,
and
of
then
course
we
you
get
can say it.
yeah,
I'm going to laugh about this now because my auntie Ange,
yeah,
Irish background. But excuse me to my Irish family and friends out there, but for my Irish accent, you go, oh, but Jesus, Michael, are you smoking that old Oberon again?
yeah,
He's like, yeah, sure I am. And he'd be on the weed. And it'd be you, Mike, or Greenie.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Julian Green influenced me. He got me into hip hop and then he got me into house music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Mike was we'll go over some stuff, but Mike was a big influence to me. I mean, I remember sort of first going around to his house and he'd have me up till like 2 in the morning listening to stuff that Chicago and listening to all these radio shows that I'd never heard of. And it was just like, what? This is just something else.
Yeah,
It was a massive, massive influence to me on not only the sort of the music side, but the entire movement creatively. Um, and what I mean by that is the what it influenced in dance, obviously breakdance, hip hop. But given my career in design, the graphic design side of it, just the album covers, Electro to, I mean, you can see some of it in the background there,
yeah,
through to Electro, and then how that then the likes of Peter Saville went on to um, design and produce, and this was well before the Macintosh, and all of it was to me was just this wow, well away from the mainstream stuff that we're all hearing and listening
yeah.
to. Um, and it was that creativity in all of it that had a huge impact on where I was going to continue in who I am and what I've become in what I'm doing now.
When we spoke a few months ago, you blew my mind a bit because I didn't really know you well at school and I didn't know that you had your own flat when you were in fifth year.
Yeah.
Um, are you okay to talk about what led up?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I'm this life is life, and I'll never be upset with anything that's certainly gone in my background. But yeah, growing up in care from the age of 2 in and out of kids' homes was and foster care was it's a life. You're doing it, and it's there's nothing, I guess, at that time that you know any different. Um, but with that, it was an incredible influence to me, and I'd like to hold my hand up to all the people that did look after me because I embraced everything that went on from there was a time, Paul, when I must have been 5 years old, and we were living with this family, just me and my brother actually. We were living in this family, foster family, and I've used this in a talk actually, a creative talk. And we're living with this foster family, and they were called the Walshes. And Mrs. Walsh, as I only ever knew her as, was drew this picture of these two young boys sat under a tree, and she started to colour them in and and develop this picture. And I was looking at what she had, and she had just these very basic crayons like yellow and brown and stuff like that. And at the end of it, I was fascinated that she'd managed to create this skin color. And I
Yeah,
said, Mrs. Walsh, you don't have a crayon there. That's skin color. How have you done that? And she basically said, well, it's all about technique, isn't it? And then a major influence to me. And she basically lightly colored in a little bit of yellow and a little bit of orange and a little bit of brown. She said that's how I create the skin color. And from that then form and color and creativity, certainly in its painting, drawing at that early stage for me, was a huge influence. And that woman, amongst many other people, you know, being in kids' homes where you've got, you know, everybody from all different walks of life. You know, you've got a real melting pot of people who are disabled. You got black people, white people. You got all sorts of people from, and everybody's got a story. But in actual fact, I've got to say, actually, if the world was more kids' homes, it would be a much better place because we were all just in it together.
Yeah.
And there was a certain amount of respect. Don't get me wrong, it was tough at times, but there was never any of this, anything like racism or you're not wearing the right clothes or the right trainers or this and this. It was just all about, we're just all here together, guys. Let's just get on. And I just love that as a hypothesis or ideology, if you like.
Yeah.
It's a really nice thought.
How did you end up having your own flat at 15?
So it was probably at the last kids' homes that I was at. They saw something in me that felt I was okay, and I was one of these kids that would be okay looking after myself. So they just thought, well, you know what, we're going to take the risk on this guy here, and we think he's going to be all right. And that was that, and I did, and I was, I think. Yeah.
How did you get? Was you working then as well as school?
No, so I was again. It was another thing that was quite unusual when you're in kids' homes. This idea of going to college, and this idea of somebody wanting to not break the norm. That's not what I want to say. Actually, not break the norm, but actually someone who thought that there's something more for them to do and give, and me going to college was again, going back to Mrs. Walsh, was just this continued way of me using creativity as a point of reference, and a point where I could not escape, but it allowed me to focus on something to numb out some of the other stuff that was going on in and around me at the time in my life.
Yeah.
Which again we've touched on that, and you know, some of it you can consider quite dark as if you're doing it the first time. But for me, it was normal life, and for me, it was I never saw it as an anchor. I never saw it as something that was going to pull me down. If anything, it was something that was going to drive me forward.
Yeah.
And I think whoever the powers that be within the social services of Salford saw something in me that was going to go, he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
It's going
What did you do at college?
And I went and did a foundation course at Salford Tech. And it was at that time where, and this was well before that machine that you see in the background there, that Mac.
Yeah.
It was well before then, and it was me firstly actually going there just to go, you know what, this is great, this college thing. You don't have to turn up for certain lessons. You can have a laugh. You can meet.
Yeah.
Initially it was an art and design course, and then I moved on to doing graphic design. But it was all letter set, and it was all well before the Mac and cutting and pasting and actually physically doing the design of it. And that's why, you know, even looking back at album covers like all of the Electro covers and the likes of work that Peter Saville did, was nothing short of incredible.
Yeah.
That the Macintosh or any desktop publishing was involved back then. And that again was huge influence. And for me, you know, the creative side of it, but also people that I met there. I met just some of the most amazing people that are still the most amazing people in my life.
Yeah.
We've got all our old friends. Some of them you well know, Brendan Mannion,
Yeah.
who's my lifelong friend. But the people that I met there and the people that influenced me whilst I was there, not only creatively, but also this discovering what their lives were like, you know, growing up in lives of where they've got families and where they've got, you know, a steady background, but also actually um, the creativity that they brought. And it was just absolutely fascinating. And the fascination with it is that nearly all of those friends, Paul, nearly all of them, are still my closest friends, and still, you know, had a major impact on what I did and what, you know, and how I continued to enjoy um, everything that was going on in Manchester at the time, and then obviously since moving down to London, it was. I was thinking about it today. Actually, there was a moment. There was a certain chap that I met there who's sadly no longer with us. A guy called Roy Minter, who singularly was a massive influence on me, and other people as well along the way. It was, you know, I remember a guy. He was sat down in the outside one of the lessons, and he had his Walkman on. He was listening to something. He just sat there like that, thinking about what lesson to go in. And this was down in Odsall, when we were down, when Salford Tech were down there. And I said, Martin, what are you listening to? He said, oh, I've been listening to this. And it was my first hearing of acid music. And I was like, remember the little orange sort of headphones? I was
Yeah,
absolutely blown away by what I was hearing. This beat and this bubble sound to it. I mean, acid is probably the best description of what that could be as a music,
yeah,
as a piece of music, and it absolutely blew me away. And it was shortly after that, Roy and a couple of friends went, "Oh, we're going down to this place called the Hacienda. Do you fancy going?" And I think it was a nude night or something like that,
yeah.
day or something. Can't remember what night, but yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, you choose, don't you, in life? And the decisions I made, some of them are good, some of them have, you know, as we all have, haven't been so good. But the influence that all of these people had in the path that I decided to take, going to college and meeting these people, I don't think any of them will ever know how much that influenced me to continue on and become, and, you know, do what I'm doing now and talking to you now, Paul.
So what a time to be a student, like while I'm guessing we're talking 88 now, aren't we? When you
So,
went in.
yeah, so you're a year older than me. So you
Yeah.
left school in 86, 87.
87 I left school.
Yeah, so mine was 1988. So that
Yeah,
would have been September 88. And that was, my God, the best. 88 to 1993, undoubtedly, apart from going into kids, marriage, and everything else, undoubtedly the best times of my life.
I always love asking this. I haven't checked before whether I can ask you, but can you remember your first exercise?
I can, yeah. It was my dear old friend Roy Minter gave it to me. And
Yeah,
actually my first acid as well, my first acid trip. And it was a dove that he gave me. And it was, what is this?
yeah,
And what it did actually, I was always nervous about anything like that. In the fact that I was always shy of drugs. I never really drank then either. Even going to the Hacienda, it was a kind of breaker and a load of water.
yeah,
Um, so it was more, would this thing stir up certain things and emotions from your past? So that was a concern. And in fact, what it did is quite the opposite. It just made me love
yeah,
it even more than I do already.
yeah. So an interesting thing is that I've had two conversations recently. Um, one of them was, and I didn't release this video, but the first time she took ecstasy was in 1983 or four in California, and it was with a doctor. So they had it in couples therapy, and she was surprised when it first landed in Manchester with the rave scene. And then she used to take an ecstasy, but she'd try and think of a trauma to heal it. And yesterday I did a video with a therapist, and we were talking about that how it can have an effect on trauma. And I don't want to advocate usage of it because I don't do it anymore. But like it's come up a few times recently where people who've suffered trauma, it's kind of changed their life a bit. That scene.
Yeah, I think as well is, and again, what you sort of alluding to there is with certainly with microdosing at the moment as well, isn't it? With mushrooms and how you can manage that thing, you know, anxiety and stress in a very different way, um, which aren't using prescribed, you know, drugs
Yeah,
from the doctor or whatever else. It's going to be taking an interesting place that, but nearly everybody that I've spoken to that I've entered into that have gone. It's good for me. Not in the way where they're off their heads all day, just in the way of
yeah,
just managing things. So, but yeah, so it was as soon as I certainly, well, certainly with acid, it was a half. I did a half, and a Wednesday night with Roy. I remember, you know, one of my mates going, "Oh, a Mars bar's chasing you," and all this. It's like, no, it's not like that. You know, a big, huge Mars bar chasing down the road. I remember sat outside the GMX Centre with Roy and Bren, and what was brilliant, he had this big striped shirt on with these big penny collars. They're always really cool. And just yeah, just really just amazing times. And I think as well as a creative, I was just open to whatever or whatever that was. Just
yeah.
and so far the decisions I've made and the people I've met, I trusted. So this was just another level of trusting the instinct that you've got, and it was just amazing. It was brilliant, Paul.
It opened you up as well to like all classes of people, and you know like people that we didn't really grow up with in Salford, like they all became friends, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they really did actually. And so it's funny actually, Paul, going back to our school days and what you mentioned before about having the flat. Even at school, no one had any idea I was in care.
yeah, I didn't know
And,
that.
no, and it was not that I kept it a secret. It's just that um, it just wasn't something that I needed to talk about because one, I think people can judge you, and two, they might want to judge you, and they might want to, you know, I guess decide whether they're going to be friends or not. Well, you know what, so what? But I guess at that age, it is quite influential, isn't it? And you just want to keep. I just wanted to keep my cards close to my chest, and just people judge me on what they saw in front of them.
Yeah, we
And
probably had the same route with music because I'm looking at Electro behind you, so I'm guessing you would have gone in spinning records as well.
yeah,
Um,
so I mean, I know you've just done Man Parish.
yeah, yeah,
Boogie Down Bronx, right, was one of the, if not the massive influences on me. One, the music, but also just someone who liked to express that. And I got into breakdancing. I'd probably look like a dead beetle or a beetle trying to get back, but I loved it and I got into it. And even now that it just sends the hairs on the back of my head.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things, and then it was Mantronics and all these just amazing influences like that. That just then to continued me my fascination with this sound, this just the most amazing movement.
yeah. The first time I went in Hacienda was so we used to go around to a mate's house. When I started work, I used to go around to Mike's house a lot and take records round. And then I had a mate called Paul Farmer,
Yeah,
and we used to get probably from about fourth year in school, I think. And we used to take records round there. And then I remember him saying, "Oh, do you want to come to Hacienda one night?" And there was a thing nude night, and I didn't go. Like I thought, what at the time I just went out in Eccles, like when I was 16.
you should go Addison's.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I'm going to tell you a story. Let me tell you a story about
yeah.
Addison.
Go for yeah,
I
yeah,
always wanted to go to Addison's, but I was too young, and I was living at this kids' home, and there was a guy that lived there, and again he was in the kids' home, but he was cool. He had a big pair of geese jeans on, cropped blonde bleached hair, gay guy, and I said, where are you going here? And he said, I'm going to the Hacienda. And I said, what, in Eccles? And he went, no. And I got it mixed up with Addison's. Anyway, so it's a year or so later, and I was like, I realised what he was saying. Um, but yeah, I never went to Addison's probably around the time that you did, just because I don't think I could or whatever. But yeah, it was
It was a bit more like it's like shirt and ties, wasn't it? And I
yeah.
went to the mixed finals with with Paul Farmer, and
Oh yeah,
that was the first time I went there. And I remember Kermit, Ruthless Rap Assassins played, and
yeah.
Kermit had the biggest spliff I'd ever seen at that point. Uh, and then, I didn't really think anything of it. And then when Acid House came out, I couldn't believe it was being played in clubs.
Yeah.
Because my experience of it was just record shops and round at mates' houses. Uh, and then it was just amazing, wasn't it? Like when you,
Oh, we used to go. I mean, I remember sort of like, I mean, it's well before Eastern Bloc though. Like you mentioned spinning and just with mates and with Mike, just going to places like the old underground market
yeah,
in Manchester.
the Oasis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just going places like that and just sort of discovering this just complete different culture of stuff.
yeah,
Um, and again, it was just fascinating. And I know sort of Salford is literally an axe throw from Manchester, but it seemed like miles away, and it seemed like years apart. And obviously, getting into breakdance, seeing Broken Glass on Market Street and Town Square, and just watching these dancers and listening to all of this influence, it was quite incredible. And you could see that through, and this is one of the things, certainly from my upbringing, is deprivation and breeds creativity, and you could see it in its abundance and its rawness.
yeah,
I think that then became, thankfully, we were in an era where it was just right place, right time, and it was just this complete melting pot of energy that was going into indie music, that was going
yeah,
into the fashion, that was going into, and again, you got all these different genres of fashion as well that was going on in Manchester. You got everything from, the indie and the Stone Roses with the Joe Blogs and baggy jeans.
yeah. They were in the underground market, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, well, I worked at Joe. I remember working at Joe Blogs actually. I remember working. I was saving up to go on my first holiday with a load of mates, 1989 or 1990. And I remember sort of working in. They said, "Oh, we're going to send you to the warehouse." I remember working in the warehouse, and it was overlooking Strangeways Prison when the
Yeah.
riots were going on, and just watching them all.
Oh wow. Yeah,
And a cup of tea like that, going, "Oh yeah, it's all kicking off over
yeah. It was live that, wasn't it? On
there."
because you come back from a club and it'd be on telly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you have flare jeans? Did you
I
get?
didn't.
There was a period where I love that. There was a period in the 80s where you'd have the piss tuck if your pants weren't straight, but then in third year, flares came back in and everyone wore them, and then
Yeah,
they came back in with Acid House, and like the
well, I remember the flare jeans. Do you remember when we used to cut them at the bottom with your moccasins?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, pair of gazelle.
yeah,
But again, all of that. I mean, I'm massively into all of that retro, Sergio Tacchini and Fila and Lacoste, because
yeah,
again, it's all really good stuff to breakdance in.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
Do
was
you know,
just
I got sent some photographs today, and it's Street Machine. So someone told me that Johnny Stafford, I'll give him a shout out.
oh no, Johnny,
Yeah, yeah.
he's a
He
great
mentioned
footballer.
he still goes to gigs and stuff, and um, but he mentioned that they played the Silver Screen under 18s disco, and
Yeah.
I got sent a photograph today from someone in Street Machine, and it's them at the Silver Screen.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, yeah. So things like that. I mean, I know it was a very much local shirt and tie and a fight place, but they had some pretty cool nights on
Oh, they
there.
did. The silver screen was amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. And that's where I met the people. I know you've interviewed Coddy in the past, but that's where I met Coddy, Martin Muldoon,
yeah,
through Jackie and Sue and everybody else. And it was a place where you could just go as a kid
yeah.
and experience just again all of these things that you'd be watching on TV, like Wild Style, Breakdance the movie, and all that. And you just get down there, and it was just yeah,
Did you have a moment where, because I did, where because you know loads of people, don't you? When you're young, you have like all the year at school, you know loads of people local in the pub, and then in the Silver Screen as well, the local club. But then I had a period where my locals became in the city centre, so I knew more people in town eventually than I did local.
yeah. That's exactly what it was. And actually, like I said earlier, I was quite I kept myself to myself at school, and it was just me and my mate. Other than a few other people, so I didn't really hang around with anybody there until I'd started college, and
Yeah,
that opened up this entire new amount of just different people, different friends. And then, in actual fact, what happened is a load of the people that I knew many years before, like Jackie and Sue and Martin and everybody else, all then suddenly were then back in the forefront of my life again, which was
yeah,
brilliant. It was
yeah,
brilliant, along with all these other people that that seemed to know each other as well. It was incredible actually, because that scene it was just an amazing community of people that from all over Manchester, and it made Manchester seem really small
yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I can get that because you felt like you knew everyone after a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, you did. You really did. You did. And I mean, the Hacienda was for me, it was just a mecca of just sort of that release of just this energy and just this shared love for not only music but whatever it was. Certainly before it did start to get influenced by the gangs and everything else that we all know about with Salford and everything else. But even then, it was kind of interesting for me because not only with the family background, but also from living with a lot of the lads that then became doormen at these places or sold the drugs. So again, it was just this really familiar place for me.
Yeah,
How are you doing? It was like, and then some of my mates was like, from not that sort of background, we'd be like, how do you know him? What the? And it was like, do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
But everyone was just there together and just enjoy it. And brilliant. So I used to get in the ass for free, miss the queue. And then I used to drop my coat off with Graham Park and Mike Pickering, knock on the door at the DJ booth. Used to give them a coat. And then at the end of the night, I'd go and pick up my coat and they give me a tape from that night.
how did you get to know them?
Just for a friend of mine that worked at the Hacienda. Yeah, it was an old girlfriend.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I
Yeah.
think I went in
And I got to know them. And then they were, I remember going up there once, honestly, Paul, went up there to get my coat. David Morales opened the door.
the there.
And I was like, and I got and he said, I'm just coming to get my coat. And then I think it was Graham or it might have been Tom Wainwright actually. Said, oh, here's
Yeah,
your part and here's a tape.
yeah.
Quite nice to me. I mean, David Morales sort of opening the door, giving you a coat. It's just bonkers, isn't it?
Do you know, like when you mentioned the tape, then I love how precious the music was. Because I did a video with Gouldy, and he's like one of the Leeds lads who used to come up, and they went to an after party somewhere, and he said he offered like a couple of trips for the tape,
Right.
and the guy said no, and then he said I'll give you 5 trips, and he went no, and then in the end he said I'll give you 10 clear window panes for that tape, and then he said well go on, and then that tape went all around Leeds after.
Did it?
Yeah, and I think it might have been Mike Pickering but it was new on it, the music and the records were expensive and the
Yeah.
DJs probably had loads of, well, obviously had loads of them, and them tapes were really precious, weren't they?
Well, the word precious as well, because what you got is you not only got what was being played, but you got the background sound from the crowd.
Oh, wow, yeah, yeah,
Whistling and shouting and oh, tune and all that. So you got all of that, and that isn't all the tapes. And I had this collection. Unfortunately, it's one of the downsides of living in Salford. I got burgled, so nearly all of them got nicked. But some of my mates still had some of them. But they were all written by Graham or Mike, and it was all dated. Graham Park, Mike Pickering, New 991 or something like that. And I've still got some of them here, and it's just you stick those on, and it just takes you really, really right back to what it was, but still not quite the same because you were there. And in fact, actually, you were probably one of the people who was, screaming and cheering in the background when they dropped something
yeah,
like Dream Lover or whatever it is, or
yeah.
just awesome, awesome times. But then as well with what was going on at the Hass in that what seemed like an eternity from for me, 1988 to 93 seemed like forever. It was only 5 years, but there was other stuff going in between. There was other clubs obviously that was going on, and you got Thunderdome. You've got what's the other one that was
Conspiracy.
you've got Conspiracy, yeah, and all these other places that were, and also even smaller places that we went to. One of them was run by Greg Fenton, Justin Robertson, Ryan Speed, Elton, who and
Yeah,
you get the likes of Tim and Ed from Chemical Brothers
yeah,
there on a stage of 100 people performing.
yeah,
You just got this really lovely other underground stuff that was just really good fun, and also a really good tonic away from going to what was typical of what you've been used to, going to the Hacienda and hands in the air and seeing all of the same faces where you got these other sort of variants of that, which were really good to like. Was it the Wiggly Worm?
oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
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 or something like that.
yeah, that was the old millionaires, wasn't it?
It was on the Old Millionaires Club, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. There was a new club opening like every month on the really, it felt like.
yeah, there was. Most Excellent, that was it. It was called Most
Yeah,
Excellent. In fact,
yeah,
I've still got the pass to it. Remember once we had such a good. So they did this night there called Out to Eat, and I think it was Elton's idea, and they got all this pink blancmange on this table. Well, of course, you apply pink blancmange, and a load of people that have had drugs and drink. And I remember chasing, it was either Elton or Ryan that used to run Athenaeum, who also managed the Hacienda bar. I remember chasing him up the stairs, and he ducked. And as he ducked, I threw this pink blancmange, and it landed all over this black cab. And the guy in the black cab went, "That better not have hit my car." And I was like, "No, it's not, mate. Have a look." We just went straight back into the club. Black cab was covered in all these people.
gosh, that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and I
But
still see those guys as well down in here. Actually, I still see Elton a lot and Ryan a lot, and it's really really good. In fact, the last time I saw them was it was the book launch of Threads.
I went to that.
Did you? Oh, you went to the one
Yeah,
up in Manchester, didn't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I went to the one at Soho House. So
yeah.
yeah, so
You're in that book, aren't you?
Becky Hook and yeah, Peter. Yeah.
Is your photo, one of your photos in that book, or you get mentioned?
No, I sent a load of stuff, but it didn't end up sort of reaching Becky, um, or it never got published
Yeah,
for whatever reasons. But during the book launch and during the talk, we did get a mention because we were with John Richmond. We were known as the Destroy Boys.
yeah,
At the end because we used to always wear John Richmond and
destroy.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we got a mention. Elton mentioned us. He was like, "Yeah, the Destroy Boys are here tonight," and it was me.
yeah,
It was quite funny. Um, but yeah, well, again, to going back to what I mentioned earlier on, it just goes to show that these people that you've met 30 odd years ago, you're still spending time with them and still enjoying the giggles.
yeah. I think it's good the way the internet's. I mean, we're a generation that never we grew up without the internet, didn't we? And then it didn't really things like social media wasn't until was it like Was it late
Yeah,
90s?
it's around. Well, I mean, it's really interesting for me actually because given the job that I do and been in the digital space since its inception, so 96, designing brands, building websites and everything else before people really knew what they were, and then launching platforms and being so involved in social media is something that I'm not massively involved in personally myself. Um, but yeah, it was about Facebook was about yeah, it was about 2000, wasn't it? 2001, 2002 when it really started to take off. And that then I think it was picked up from Friends Reunited, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I remember like I used to go club an after club called Strange Ways, and then it became Danceteria, and then it'd be out of my mind, it'd be out of my brains in there, like 4 or 5 E's and whatnot. And then it was like hard techno upstairs, and then you don't think you'll ever get their memories back again. And then there was a Facebook group that sprung up for Strange Ways, and I can't remember what year it was, but then someone uploaded some videos to it, and then it was like, wow, this takes me right back to it. And then like people start finding you and adding you as a friend, and then um, I think that what I really liked, what I think is really special, is that I was friends with people back then, and it wasn't just chemical. It was like I had made a deep connection
Yeah.
that I always I had a period where I hated it all and I was anti-drugs and wish I wouldn't have done that and stopped going out. And then I kind of like when I realised that all these people start coming back into my life, and it's like, well, yeah, I had made a connection there. I had made a really special. I was part of something.
Yeah, totally. And I think I don't think you do realize it at the time. And I think it is only till afterwards, isn't it? Like you've just said, this point of sort of going, wow, what a time we had. And I'm still friends with those people and we
Yeah,
still doing not quite that,
yeah,
still enjoying the company and you still, sharing those really cool moments. And I think that's again going back to what happened in the situation with certainly with mine from the 88 to the 93. What happened then was just so magical, and everybody can talk about magical times in, but this is me personally speaking. And I think it was because the music was, what people went to, but in actual fact, it was everything else around it within that movement that took you there. I mean, the Afflecks palaces, and all the other bars and all the other clubs and dry bar and all these places that came and went, the whole gay scene with Flesh. And I remember going to the first night of Manto opening, and myself and Ryan, and I think it might have been Elton, actually got barred for throwing
what
grapes.
for?
For throwing grapes. I think I threw some grapes, or Ryan, who managed the Athenaeum, threw some grapes. And there was a guy carrying a load of glasses, and he slips on a grape, and the glasses went everywhere. But literally, the first night at opening that we went there, a special guest.
No way.
I know, and it's just those moments that you're laughing at and I'm laughing at, and it was these situations that you just remember and go, wow, what a time, and to be blessed to be part of it.
Well, while I'm doing the videos, what I'm realizing every time I do one or like get introduced to someone was like, God, there was some really, really big and special characters around them. With some really interesting people and some really cool, and they were all around at the same time. It's like, it was really unique and special, wasn't it, back then?
Yeah, I remember sort of being at again, what was it now? It was Most Excellent. Is it
Yeah.
Most Excellent? Oh, it's a flash night. But I remember sort of Elton wheeling in Lee, his best friend, into the club in a shopping trolley wearing a nappy. It's like brilliant, absolutely
Wow.
brilliant. And then you've got a mix there of again just people who from whatever background to whatever background, be it the hard knocks of Manchester and Salford, through to people that weren't, who come in just because of the scene, and they were all together, and it was this harmonious, enjoyable place to be. It was a this it was all about theatre, wasn't it? And just excitement and just this newness to it all that I think everybody loved.
I like talking to you and looking behind you as well, just makes me think more back to our roots as well. And I know that you said that the Electro albums inspired you, like in your
Massively,
profession as well.
massively. Because of their shape, design of them, graphic design. Um, and then it was only years later I realised Peter Saville, who was responsible for Factory Records, Hacienda, and New Order, and the creativity that went behind those. That again, like I've just said, it was a huge influence on me. Just typography and graphics and that pure display of something, which it wasn't always about, this big picture or this big glam shot, something in the beat or whatever. It was just really, really understated. And it was fascinating for me. And like I say, when this thing called the Macintosh got wheeled out at college, I was like, what's that over there? And it was when I left college, then I set up a design company actually with, again, a late friend of mine, Orwell Chang, called Faceit Graphics. And we used to do a lot of the stuff in Manchester, actually, a lot of the club nights, flyers, and everything else. It was just brilliant. I remember designing this. It was called Ryder Cock Horse, and it was Ryder Cock Horse was the night or the event before going to Flesh
Yeah,
in Athenaeum, and Ryder Cock Horse. They wanted me to design this fly from it, promoting it, and it was brilliant. Their idea. Do you remember the old crisps that you used to get called puffs?
yeah,
They were
yeah,
called puffs, and it was brilliant because I'd designed this whole flyer with the influence and all of the team behind it before the Flash, and it was just this. It was just brilliant. Just the humor around it, and this confidence, and this
yeah,
ability to not um, um, see anything other than this is just great, and it was just, yeah, just I remember designing this fly, and it was just based on this old bag of crisps called Puffs. It's like,
So you do AI now, don't you? Like AI videos.
yeah, so two parts of a business is what we do for many years, which is all about branding and how that brand is executed through augmented reality, virtual reality, and all basically using technology as a leverage to using creativity and technology as a paintbrush to then take wherever we can, move that to through to designing, a smart mirror, for example, for super dry, where you stand in front of it and the close appear on top of you, through to even designing, the Christmas windows for Selfridges. And then about 9 years ago, I was fortunate enough to work with, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention brands.
Oh yeah, 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 of course, yeah.
Fortunate to work with
I,
IBM
I
Watson.
don't care.
I was fortunate to work with IBM Watson.
I'll just have a quick word with my sponsors.
Yeah, I was fortunate to work with IBM Watson, and it was
Yeah,
IBM Watson was a big part of AI at the time, and I was just
yeah,
fascinated by it. I think this is, certainly the future of where it's going to be going within the creative industry.
yeah,
Um, and I can do another 10 hours talking about this, the goods and the bads, the ugly of it all. But then started to develop a platform that could help facilitate that in AI. In some ways, you could say it's taken away a lot of the work that you do and you've been doing, but in the other way, what I see it is it's been a major revolution ever. Going back to the Electro album there when it was all cut and paste, and it took all these people to produce that, doing right. Okay, the Mac came along, but it short circuited it to a day rather than
yeah.
12 days. And the evolution of that is the internet and all this software that's available, and it's just another tool. And I think when you get around that, and you continue to think that human intervention and creativity is at the core of it, then that's where you go, I get this.
So I always aim for around half an hour, to 40 minutes. And I've lost track of the time again. And I say this every video, even though I've got a new clock. But I like to end them with a favourite track, and I'm curious about the acid house track that you heard on your headphones.
Right.
Can you remember what it was?
I do remember what it. I can't remember the. It was. I think it was something like "Pump It Up." London's burning. Pump it up. I think
Oh, I remember that. It was on an album, wasn't it?
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, Pump Up
Can't remember
London.
what they do. I should know who it was, but I was just. But that was the track. I mean, I can go through all of album, all of records that going back to Vampirish, Buddy Van Brunt, Sueno Latino, T-Coy. Oh man, the list will go
Well,
on
that
and
was
on.
on an album, and I could be wrong, but it's one of my favourite albums of that era, and it was called North.
It was gone off. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And the other one, Jago, are you going to go? I mean,
Good to Go with Diego.
good to
Yeah,
go. Well,
yeah,
again, Mike had it. It was really rare at the time, rare as hen's teeth.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then that North album was it was mostly Mike Pickering, wasn't it?
It
Like
was,
I
yeah.
didn't know
Well,
that.
he was T-Coy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was Annette Dream 17. That was Mike Pickering,
That's
wasn't
right,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just stop recording now, and then we can carry on the chat for a bit.
All right.
So thanks so much, mate.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah. Here we